All right, we are live. Hello, everyone. Give me 1 minute to refresh and mute my YouTube so we don't have an echo. Takes a second to catch up with us. There we go. Hi, Jess. How are you doing today?
Hello, I'm good.
All right,
The
first thing we're going
mailman.
to do,
Oh, go ahead.
I just want to do our sound check. Can everyone hear Jess really loud? I boosted her volume as much as I could. Let's do a sound
Hello,
check.
hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, let us know in chat to make sure that everyone can hear Jess nice and clear because we usually have problems with her audio for some reason. So, do you have you need to mute YouTube somewhere, Jess? I hear myself talking.
Yeah, it's an iPad. Sorry, got
Okay.
it.
Okay, great. All right, so everyone can hear you perfectly. Excellent. All right, so we are here today. We're going to be watching a hearing, the live stream of the hearing today. First, we're going to talk a little bit about what the hearing is going to be about. We're going to read through the documents. Rob Wood dropped his response to the defendant's motion today, so we're going to read through that because there is a lot of good info in there. So let me get the judge's site open so we don't miss anything. It should be starting in about 30 minutes. So get that going. All right. So, Jess, we are here today to talk about DNA evidence. That's kind of exciting. What do you think?
Yep. I wish we knew what it was, but yeah.
We do.
DNA's good.
We got some clues. So we're going to go through
Okay.
Rob Woods where he gives us a little bit of information about what we're going to be testing today. But first, the first thing I'm going to put on your screen, this happened the other day. This is the filing from John Pryor, which was echoed, at least in sentiment, by Mark Means, because whatever. And this is the filing, his motion to oppose the use of, motion to preserve DNA samples, motion for photographic recording of serology samples and other visual tests, motion to review lab records. This is what we're going to be hearing today, all right? This is the reason we have this hearing. John Pryor filed this motion and the court scheduled the hearing for today. It's kind of an emergency situation because they want to get this in before all the DNA samples are used up and the defense doesn't have access to them. So I'm going to read through this kind of quickly, and then we'll get to the good stuff, which is Rob Wood's filing. So comes now John Pryor, yada, 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 yada. Daybell's motion to oppose use and motion to preserve and motion for photographic recording and da, 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 da. That paragraph's boring. So let's start where here he says, the special prosecutor, Rob Wood, sent correspondence to defense counsel that he intends to perform DNA testing on samples obtained by law enforcement. On April 21st, 2021, he submitted to my office notice that there is additional discovery not yet provided to defense counsel that will be forthcoming. This additional discovery included, but was not limited to, some DNA testing that had not yet been provided to the defense. That he notified my office by such correspondence that additional DNA testing would completely consume the remaining DNA evidence obtained by law enforcement. That is the crux of this argument. So I'm not going to bother reading. We've already read this in another live stream, but just to catch everyone up to date. So this was filed by John Pryor, echoed by Mark Means. They're basically saying, we're concerned that Rob Wood is going to do these DNA tests that will consume the sample and not allow the defense to be able to also test the sample for their own results. Now, this happens a lot in cases, right? This is not the first time we've ever heard of this. And generally, what the court will do will be to have both sides pick their experts, all right, and they'll stipulate to whichever lab they're going to use, who's going to pay for it, which experts get to oversee the procedure, and they both get access to the results. It's very normal, okay? Nobody's trying to hoodwink the other side or gain an unfair advantage. That's not what's happening here. This is a really normal thing, okay? Jenny Stern says, what would the defense test the sample for if not for data? Just to get another independent test, right? Because if the state is the only one who has the sample, who gets it tested at their lab with their experts and their results, the defense could back and say, well, we don't know if that's true because there's no independent testing of the sample. Generally, both sides will get to do their own testing, right? So what this hearing will most likely be about is them stipulating to the lab, the experts, the procedure, the results, all of that good stuff. So it's very normal. So nothing conspiratorial. Nobody's doing anything bad. All right. So that is the first filing. Now the second filing, which should be on your screen. Is it going to switch? Hold on. Give YouTube 1 second to catch up. Make sure you can see the right thing. It's really blurry on my YouTube. I'm not sure why. Can you guys see it clearly? I don't know. Jess, do you see it clearly? It looks really clear in StreamYard.
I think
But
it's fine. I think it's good.
Blurry on YouTube. All right, well, I'm going to read it through anyway, so if you can't see it, just follow along. These documents are all posted in my Discord server, which is there's a correct link to join in the description below, and the mods will be able to put it up for you. So if you want to actually get the PDF files of these, you can come to Discord and grab it. All right, so let me read this one. This is a big one. It's going to take a little time, but we have some good info in here. All right. This is the state, through Special Prosecuting Attorney Rob Wood, hereby responds to both defendants' motion to preserve DNA evidence, photograph serology examinations, and for laboratory records. The state requests that the court deny portions and grant portions of the above. The state explains as follows. Factual background. Chad and Lori Vallow Daybell have been charged with conspiracy to conceal and destroy evidence. Chad Daybell has additional charges of concealment and destruction of evidence. The investigation into the deaths of Tylee Ryan and Joshua Vallow and the defendant's connection to those deaths is ongoing. The discovery process in these pending actions began when counsel for both defendants entered their appearances with the court. This discovery process itself is ongoing, in line with law enforcement activity. All discovery currently in Special Prosecutor Rob Wood's possession in connection to these cases has been produced. When updated or new discoverable reports are received, they will be given over to both defendants on an ongoing basis. Since the investigation's inception, numerous items of evidentiary value have been collected, many of which are suitable for forensic analysis and testing. The reports reflecting the seizure of these items have been produced to the defense. One specific report documenting the seizure of tools in question was provided in a July 29, 2020 discovery disclosure to the defense, date stamped as Vallow Daybell 006828. Given testing and processing backlogs at forensic laboratories, the length and nature of testing of some items with potential evidentiary value, and the impact of COVID-19 on staffing and resources, some testing is still ongoing and remains outstanding. As the results are received, they will be produced to the defense. All right, that's very important. So what he's saying here is back in July 29th of last year, which is actually my birthday, by the way, he turned over information to the defense. He's like, I reported this to you July of 2020, guys. You know, you've known that we found the seizure of the tools that were in question. That was during the second search of Chad's yard after they found the children. All right, so the defense has known about this since July 29th. On April 12, 2021, the state received the results of DNA analysis of debris found on tools that were seized from Chad Daybell's property. So they got the discovery turned over on July 29th of 2020. Rob Wood just got the results of that on April 12th of this year. So that's only, a week and a half ago? So that took a very long time. So that's what he's explaining to the court here. The state also learned that some samples obtained from the examined items were possibly suitable for DNA analysis, but that those samples were of such size and quantity that the testing process itself would consume the entirety of the samples. On April 18, 2021, the state received another report from the state lab regarding a possible blood sample from an apartment that would require consumptive testing to test the DNA. All right, so Rob Wood has DNA samples that he wants to have tested, but he's saying, yes, the lab said if we test it, that will consume the sample completely. All right, so on April 21st, 2021, the state sent the above-mentioned lab results to the defense in a discovery disclosure and also sent a letter giving the defense notice that the state intended to ask the state lab to perform the consumptive testing. Both defendants wrote the state and told the state that they objected to this without their experts having a chance to review the materials. Totally fair. On the morning of April 22nd, 2021, both defendants filed motions, that was the one that we just read. On that same day, the state sent the defense an email informing them that due to their request, the state would not immediately seek the consumptive testing and asked the defense to send the state the names of their experts within 14 days. The state offered to facilitate the defense experts' access to and examination of the samples in question. The state is entitled to test such items of evidentiary value as it believes necessary to achieve a fair and just result. Forensic testing is common in the criminal justice system. The state is not required to perform any specific test, but may elect to do the testing it believes necessary. Further, the state must disclose reports and exculpatory documents in its possession under Idaho Rule of Criminal Procedure, blah, blah, blah. The defendants are allowed to examine evidence in the state's possession as they prepare their defense. Okay. The response and conclusion: the state acted in good faith, notified the defense counsel of the likelihood that the evidentiary samples in its possession would be consumed once subjected to testing. The state has no objection to the defense experts examining the items and evidence within a reasonable timeline established by the court. The state has a certified and accredited forensic laboratory ready and able to perform the analysis once the defense examination of the samples in question has been completed at no cost to either party. Further, should the defense experts be able to arrange an appropriate protocol for observing the testing procedures agreeable to the state's expert, the state will agree to the specified experts observing the testing process and procedure. The state further does not object to the preservation of any DNA samples sufficient in size to not be consumed by testing. Therefore, the state requests that the defense motions involving the motion to oppose use of and preserve DNA samples, motion for photographic record of serology and other visual samples, and motion for laboratory record be denied in part and granted in part as outlined herein. By Rob Wood. Oh, I'm tired. Jess, you talk for a minute. What do you think of that motion?
That took a long time to type up. That's what I think about it.
It did.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I wonder which apartment it came from.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think it might be difficult. I mean, depending on what it is. I mean, the kids lived in, if it's Lori's apartment,
Yep.
it could be blood from anything. I mean, it could end up not being anything. Who knows? But
Right. So we're going to go through kind of what this means. But first, we have Kresha and Kay and Lori Hellis in chat. Let's give a huge welcome to Kay Woodcock. I am so glad to see you here, Kay. Oh, my goodness. I've never chatted with you in a live chat before. This is exciting. Kay Woodcock, as you know, JJ's biological grandmother, Kresha's mom, and they're both here. And huge, let's fill the chat with purple and blue hearts for them. Our hearts are with them 100%. 100%. They know that they have our unending support and love. So yay.
absolutely.
So this motion, Rob Wood's response, I think, is fantastic, because what he's saying here is, hey, I never said they couldn't have their experts here. I told them I would help facilitate that.
Yep.
Right. So Rob Wood is saying, we understand that the defense has a right to these results and to this testing process, because that's how the law works. Right. So everything that I said about, the defense, this isn't a wasteful motion, is true. And Rob Wood even agrees. So, stop yelling at me for that.
But he also points out that he told them this back in July. Why are we hearing about it now?
Well, he told them about that the items were there in July. He only found out on April 12th that there would be consumptive testing if they went forward with the testing. So, but he told them right away. So Rob Wood has done the right thing here. Okay, absolutely done the right thing. He's brought the information to the defense. He's told them, okay, he said right here, he sent them a letter saying, all right, I won't test it until we work this out. Okay, so, but right there, it's like, well, defense, they argued pretty vehemently that Rob Wood was going to test all this stuff and blah, 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 and unfair. And they would have had a point, but clearly Rob Wood was not rushing to get this testing done to prevent them from having access. So, all right, I think the judge is going to look at both of these motions and be like, okay, guys, obviously you agree. You both want to be present for the testing. You want the expert done. You want it done right. Very simple. Very simple. It's not really an argument. It really isn't. So there you go. My goodness. All right, I'm going to take this off the screen for now. While we watch for the hearing. The hearing should be starting in about 15 minutes. All right, so let's talk about this DNA testing. All right, he mentioned a couple things. Tools that were taken from Chad's yard and a possible DNA sample from one of the apartments. Unspecified. Jess, what do you think of those two things?
The tool makes sense. It's probably a shovel. That would be my guess. And it probably will have DNA on it. So I'm expecting that to kind of be a no duh kind of argument. But I think the whatever blood they found in an apartment could be iffy because people live there, you know.
Right. Yeah, that. On one hand, it sounds very, like, oh, blood DNA from one of the apartments. But remember, people lived there. JJ probably scratched his knee. There could be blood on the floor or something. Tylee could have been, had a hangnail and it bled and a tiny little drop. Remember, this is a tiny, tiny sample we're talking about. So small that they can only do one test on it. So it's not like they found a large quantity. All right, so let's remember that. And with people living there, I mean, I'm sure if they wanted to get blood DNA evidence in my house, they could from any
Yeah.
of us, because you get scratches and my cats tear us apart and we bleed all over the place. So not that my house is a bloodbath. That sounds bad, but it's a tiny, tiny sample, so it could be from anything. But getting it tested is very, very important because it could be from somebody else that didn't live there, and they need to know that. They really do. So it looks like both sides agree, and they'll get it tested. The tools from Chad's yard, we know that after they found the children's remains, they did go back a couple weeks later for a secondary search, and they seized some items. We now know that they seized some tools from Chad's yard. They didn't specify which tools, but there are some, and they have some DNA test results back, and some that they still want to do. So, we're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere. This does feel to me like some progress. What do you think, Jess? Do you think we're moving things along?
Yeah, I think it's getting there. I wish there was more information out, but I mean, there's only so much we've got right now until the autopsies are released, or if they even are before it goes to trial, which I don't expect anytime soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially given the fact that the forensic testing still isn't done yet because of the backlog of COVID and all of these other issues. We're a long way from trial. We are a very long way from trial. But the process is happening. A lot of people, I know we all want to see murder charges. We want them a year ago. We don't want them tomorrow. We want to already have them. But we still have to wait. And it's so hard to be patient. It is so hard because we don't understand this process. This is one of the first cases we've ever watched where we get to see it unfold, 6 months before anyone's ever arrested, and follow it through on the day-to-day filings. We don't usually see all the stuff that happens in the background. Susie Heath, thank you for the super chat. That is adorable. And hi, I hope you're doing well. Thank you for being here. So now we're seeing the process with the forensic testing. The fact that it's still not all done, and now we have to have a hearing today to talk about how to proceed with the consumptive testing. This is why trials take so long to put together, But if Rob Wood's not done with forensics yet, it's not time to bring murder charges yet. So we're going to have to hold on a little bit longer. But man, I hope it's like tomorrow. I really wish, but I guess that's not the case. Well, how long do you think it's going to take for murder charges, Jess?
You only get one bite at the apple, so you want them to take as long as they need to have the case to put both of them away, along with anybody else that could have been involved. We could even see charges for other people when all of this gets dropped. I'm keeping my fingers crossed on that one, but I mean, if you just compare it to other cases, but even pre-COVID, I always go back to Tim Jones Jr. It was a death penalty case. He confessed, and it took 4.5 years.
Yep.
So I think well, I don't know. I was going to say maybe they'd speed this along, but this hasn't been sped along at all. So
Right.
I'm going to guess another at least 2 years before we see it go.
Right, to trial, yeah.
Yeah.
I would expect murder charges at this rate, given where they are in forensic testing, probably a couple months, because they've got to get all of those tests back. And it's got, like you said, they only have one chance at this. They cannot bring murder charges before they know they can prove it in court, or they've lost their chance, and we don't want to see that happen. So.
And Rachel Smith hasn't even been added to Lori's case yet, so I expect to see that before murder charges come anyway.
Definitely.
I could be wrong, but that's what I'm expecting anyway.
Elena, you have not missed the hearing yet. It should start in about 10 minutes. All right, so I am watching. We'll bring that to you live, but I like to go live early so we can get everybody caught up on the case with what we're going to see today. Today's argument is going to be John Pryor and Mark Means arguing on behalf of their clients. to have access to the DNA testing, which is perfectly normal and perfectly legal and totally above board. So don't, come down on them for that. That's what they should do. Rob Wood even agrees with them in his filing. He says, yeah, of course. And Rob Wood is even offering to facilitate that to make it easier and speed up the process. So good. I'm glad that he's on board with that. And so the judge is going to hear their arguments. Basically, they're just both going to stipulate to say, okay, these are our experts. This is the lab we're going to use. We're going to watch the procedure, and we both have access to the results. Perfectly normal. We've seen this in a whole bunch of cases. And I expect it to be kind of a simple hearing because they're not really fighting. Rob Wood did deny their request in part, pretty much because they're still saying, well, he hasn't turned over discovery and da-da-da. And he keeps saying, yes, I did. So we'll hear a little bit of argument about that because that's what these people do. That's a lawyer thing. But Leishel, thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate it. She says, you rock. And thank you. We try.
Yeah.
So I want to caution everyone about Rob Wood's statement about the DNA evidence from the apartment. Don't go a little crazy with that, okay? I know it's very, tantalizing to kind of run with that. They found DNA in the apartments. Well, of course they did. People live there, so it could be nothing. I'm hoping it's something, but that's why they have to test it to see if it is something or if it's just, normal from people living there. So it doesn't mean that they found evidence that they killed those crazy rumors. Let's try to keep that down and keep focused on this really logically. Jess, what do you think is one of our best arguments going forward about controlling the narrative about this DNA results? Like, I mean, we could just see it coming. We know what chat is going to look like later on after we hear this. But how important is it to keep focused on what's really happening and not, blow it out of proportion?
Well, we got to kind of be honest about it. The blood sample that they found from the apartment, it's an apartment complex. It could not even be related to any of the people in this case. It could be from a previous occupant. I mean, it really could come back as nothing. So there's really nothing to take and run with that until it comes back. But, it's just a DNA sample. It could be, well, I guess we know it's blood, but it could be absolutely anything. It's normal. You live there. You cook there. You bathe there. You cut your nails. You do whatever.
Yeah.
It would be absolutely nothing. So don't get your hopes up real big. At this point, it proves people live there.
Right.
That's really all we've got.
Yep. So, but hopefully those results will come back quickly. Now, certainly Rob Wood is not going to tell us what those results were. We won't hear about that unless it's brought up in another pretrial motion or we have to wait till trial. So we're going to have to, just kind of relax and wait for that information. But this filing does make me feel better about the state's case because this is why it's taking so long, because they've been backed up for almost a year at the lab. So, okay.
Yeah.
Great. Things are really happening. And that makes me feel so much better because I've been a little nervous lately, to be honest.
I guess if you wanted to jump to conclusions, the one thing that you could probably safely say is if there's a blood sample, that's probably not the crime scene. It's extremely hard to get away with murder these days if it's just a small sample.
Right.
You can kind of narrow that down. It probably didn't happen there.
Yeah.
So
there's Brenda Edwards in chat asks, what happens when funds run out for legal fees for Means and Prior? Well, a couple of things happen depending on the lawyers. They could continue pro bono if they wanted to. That doesn't pay the bill, so not a lot of lawyers will do that. But there is a certain amount of funding available through the state for like defense testing and expert witnesses and things like that. There is some money available that they can get from the state to help with their defense. But to a point, they don't have unlimited funding to work with. So either they could say that Chad and Lori have become indigent and therefore need a public defender, right? And they would have to leave the case. They'd have to ask the judge if they could. So, if that comes up, that would be a big deal that we'd have to deal with through the judge, through the courts. And we'll certainly hear about it if it does. So we'll see. Salty says, hi, Awen. I see you're not live on screen, but see the antlers display in the corner. Yeah. The antlers amicus is our thing because we make fun of Mark Means and his antlers. That's what that's all about. I'm not on screen today because I have a migraine thanks to a storm that will not leave. Same with you, Jess, right? You're still having that stormy thing over there?
Yep, super fun.
Yep. All right, Jenny Stern asks, can Means and Pryor sell their stories to the media after the trial in order to recoup their losses if working pro bono? No, they cannot. Jess, you want to talk about how that works?
Unless their client signs some kind of a waiver, they are still obligated, confidentiality and all.
They could still be brought up on ethics charges even if the clients waived the confidentiality. This is what happened with Kirk Nurmi and Jodi Arias' case. He defended her in her second trial, and then he went on to write the book, Trapped with Miss Arias, in version 2 and 3 or whatever. And
actually, I would encourage them to do that. Maybe they'll both get charged. That might be a good option for them.
Yeah. Kirk Nurmi had to surrender his law license because of writing that book because he violated lawyer-client confidentiality. So that's a big deal. So no, chances are they will never write books to try to make money because that would mean the end of their law career, which actually, like Jess said, is not a bad idea. So
Mark
Precious says,
get started now.
Yeah. Can you imagine reading a book that Mark Means wrote after reading some of his motions?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, he'd get Melanie Gibb to help him. They'd be about on the same level. Kresha says, Kay is looking for the like button on the main channel page screen. All right, Kresha is explaining to Kay how YouTube Lives work.
There you
go.
go.
Right. If you have any questions, I will try to watch chat and answer them for you. Yeah. Right, do we know anything?
What would you title that book, huh? What do you think Mark Means would title that book?
Oh, goodness.
How I Lost My Law Career Before It Started?
Layshell asked, do we know anything about the $4 million for Brandon from that dreamy defense dude? What?
Oh, the settlement from the defamation suit.
That was a $12 million settlement.
Yeah, it was a
$12 million. I don't know if he's going to get it, when he's going to get it. I'm sure he'll get something. His lawyer will do everything they can to try and get that money because, they're going to get cut of it. But, yeah, he did win a defamation suit against Garrett Smith, who is also involved in this case in kind of an important way. So, yeah, that's a problem for the defense for sure. Let's see. Just looking for, if you got any questions while we're still waiting for the hearing to start, should start any minute, feel free to ask it in chat.
Oh, you talked to somebody special today, didn't you?
Oh, I did. I have a message for everyone here in chat from our good friend Justin Lum. He can't be here today. He's really busy. I think he sounded kind of tired to me dealing with baby G and welcoming daddy life into his world. But he says to tell everyone in chat he can't be with you here today, but he says hi and happy hump day.
There you go.
Okay, I'll pass that along, Justin. So yes, Justin Love is here with us in spirit today.
Yeah.
Oh goodness. Let's see. Mrs. Ozy says, I believe the info Melanie G gave on this case, she is being protected. Yeah, we'll have to talk about her. We have.
They're not doing a very good job because she's still talking. So whoever's protecting her isn't doing very well.
Right. Yeah. That's a whole live stream in and of itself talking about Miss Melanie Gibb. Mm-hmm. So let me check the judge. I'm also going to check Nate's feed because last time Nate's feed was up before the YouTube stream was up and I didn't want to miss it. So let me just get everything ready so we don't miss a single minute. Whichever one goes live first, I will stream it to you. I would say I would kind of excited about this stream, but I'm really not because this is going to be a John Pryor show. He's going to do the most talking today, I would anticipate, and
that'll be pretty.
Yeah. We're taking bets on how red he's going to be today.
Yeah, it's after lunch, so chances are we're above tomato at this point.
Yep. Happy Day asked, do you think the lawyers can write a book after they retire? We talked about that. And no, anything that's under the purview of lawyer-client confidentiality, they can never write a book about, even 30, 40, 50 years from now. If it qualifies as confidential between the lawyer and the client, they can never disclose that publicly, which is why Kirk Nurmi had to surrender his law license. So at least, they won't be profiting in that way unless they're ready to give up their law license and fight ethics complaints and stuff, which is a nasty battle. So
That sounds like a good future career for both of them. I'll go with that.
Danielle gives us $10 super chat. Thank you so much, Danielle. I really appreciate it. David Johnson, would they need a grand jury to support a murder indictment? Have grand juries not been meeting in Idaho? They would not need. They could either go the route of a grand jury, or they could just do a preliminary hearing like we saw with Chad before, the one that Lori also waived hers. So they could go either way. I do believe that there are grand juries still meeting, although it's certainly reduced because of COVID. So we'll have to wait and see how they want to do it. But they could do a grand jury, though they seem to be doing the preliminary hearing route instead. So we'll just have to wait and see. All right, I'm still refreshing.
Rachel today?
Do I think we'll see who today?
Rachel. Yes. Today?
Yep, absolutely.
Cool.
100%. I'm surprised that she's not running any of the hearings yet, like taking first chair, so to speak. But I think she has a lot of catching up to do. She's got a year's worth of discovery to sift through. She's got to learn all the players involved. So she's got a lot of work to do before she's ready to jump in and start taking over. But I think we'll see that soon. I hope so.
She should come to your Discord server and look at all the stuff we've got.
Yeah, she should. Rachel Smith, you have an open invite to even my super secret Discord server. You're more than welcome. Come see the research. One thing that we've been doing behind the scenes, I know I make YouTube videos, but beyond that, I'm very, very busy on this case. We have a research team where we are just compiling every single little fact we can about all the players in this case, getting the timeline worked out, and just really, sharing all the information that we can find together to make a coherent narrative of what we've got, and separating rumors from facts and verifying things. So we have a ton of information. And certainly, if Rachel wants to come play in our sandbox, we will bake her a cake. Or whatever she wants.
Tell her all about Melanie Gibbs' book, and she'll never even have to read
it. Yeah. As you all know, I'm not a fan of Melanie Gibb, and a lot of the things that we have uncovered just reinforce that fact for me. So, yeah, she's high on my list of people to be looking at, for sure. All right, I'm still refreshing. It's still not live yet. I guess they're a little bit late. Well, 2 minutes, but still. I expect promptness. Let's go, Judge Boyce. Let's go. Oh, goodness. All right, so while we wait, what's going on in your life, Jess?
My husband got out of the hospital, so some of you guys already knew about that. So he got everything. He kind of got the okay and the clear yesterday after the doctor's appointment. So he doesn't have any more tubes and all that fun stuff. So we're on the mend, and I bought a Coach bag. So, that's what he goes to the hospital, I get a bag, right?
Excellent. That's a fair trade.
I think so, too.
Oh, yeah. People in chat are saying that they don't trust Melanie Gibb either. She knows more than she lets on.
Yeah, she gets on the stand and admitted to lying to police at least twice, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't trust her as far as you can sling her.
Yep, that is a problem. All right, now it should be starting soon. How does Nate have a picture on his YouTube, but I don't have a picture on my YouTube? I don't understand that. Nate, how are you doing that? What kind of magic is this? Nate is streaming straight from the same channel that I am, and he has a picture and I don't. What?
Maybe it's a picture from the previous one. Is it just
here it is. Here it is. I've got it.
There you go.
All right, I'm going to put this on the screen. Share screen, share audio, Chrome tab, Judge Boyce. It hasn't started yet. We're just watching the thing. All right, there we go. And close that. Okay, as soon as they start talking, I will make it full screen. Jess and I will mute ourselves. I'll turn the volume way up. Headphones are going to be best for you guys to hear clearly because I can't adjust their volume, the court's volume. So headphones will help you hear it best. Turn your YouTube volume up. Oh, Krisha, thank you. She sent a super chat. She says, much love and gratitude for all that you do for us entirely. JJ, Charles, Tammy, and Joe. Did I mention all that you do for us? I wish I could do more, Krisha. I really do. I don't know what I could do, but I don't know. I want to just, can I come clean your house or, bake for you guys, whatever. I love you guys so much. So anything you ever need, I am at your disposal. And also, we're going to be working with Kresha to start the Mayday Project, bringing mental health
Yay.
awareness. She called it that because of a lot of birthdays, significant birthdays happen in May. So the Mayday Project, mental health awareness, it's going to be a great thing. And Jess and I have pledged to help her with anything she needs to make that a great big thing, because that would be fantastic. What a beautiful thing to come out of all of us in this community and this trauma that we've been going through with this trial. So
Absolutely.
mental
If
health
they don't
awareness.
take you up on that cleaning and cooking bit, you can go over here and do it at my house.
I would love to go bake a cake for Kay and crush and stuff, whatever. Oh man. Yeah, we all wish we could do something tangible. Janine, that is the truth. That is the truth. Something that would be helpful and impactful, and I don't know, I would do anything for that
Well,
family.
come help
So
on the research project if you feel so obliged.
yep, that's true. Anyone who does want to help on the research project, there I do have a team going. If you want to pitch in, just yell. I'll give you a project to start working on, and that's you do something tangible, because that all of that information will be going to the place it needs to go. So that's all I can really say about that. But we're working very hard on this. Oh, come on. They're in a breakout session still. So I do think we are going to hear from them today, because the motions were not made, they were not sealed. There's no reason that we can't hear about the discussion, the argument over the motions. So I don't think they're going to be in a breakout session for the entire hearing, but they probably have some housekeeping, as they call it, to do. For sure. Let's see. Brenda says, I would be surprised if Ian isn't a primary witness for the prosecution. He uncovered a lot of information. Ian is all, you got to remember, with all of these witnesses, right? They're problematic for both sides, but they're problematic for the prosecution, because when we look at Ian, we have to look at a lot of his issues. I don't know how to say it nicely, but the defense's job, whenever there's a witness on the stand, is to impeach their character, to make them look not credible to the jury, right? So the jury won't believe them. How easy do you think that's going to be for the defense to do with every single witness in this case, Jess?
Ian's a special dude. I'll say special. I mean, in his own words, the reason he went to police was to help find the kids, supposedly, and to help Melanie get out of all of this by his own admission. So, how much is he covering up for Melanie? How much was he involved? I have no idea. But he's still married to that woman, and they've had a baby, and whatever. Enjoy it while you can, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
He's not unproblematic,
No.
but he's not Melanie Gibb. Melanie Gibb is definitely on the. And before anybody jumps in, and starts to shine her halo over here, it ain't gonna work. Anybody that can get on national television and do multiple interviews and talk about dead kids that you knew were missing and helped cover up and smile while you do it and never apologize is a
Mm-hmm.
problem.
Definitely.
She's lied to police. She doesn't have a problem lying, so she can go take a long walk off a short pier as far as I'm concerned.
Yep. And that's true for pretty much every single witness in this case. And this is one of my big concerns, is sure, the state is going to call Melanie Pulowski and Ian Pulowski and Zulema Pastenes and Melanie Gibb and David Warwick. And the state's going to call all these people, right? Are any of them credible, even remotely? I don't think so.
Nope.
If I was a defense attorney, I would be laughing my way to court to face Melanie Gibb on the stand, or any of these people on the stand, because they will be able to impeach their credibility within minutes, right?
Yeah.
So I think this case will largely rest on the forensic evidence, because the witnesses are just not credible. They're just not. And that's going to be a problem. But given Rachel Smith's history, I've been looking a little bit more into her prosecutorial history. That's not a problem for her. Let's just say that. That is not a problem for Rachel Smith. So I'm not even worried about that anymore. I was.
You just have to, you look at the testimony of these people and you kind of have to just go, what is their motivation here? All of them are trying to save their rear end. I mean, you've got Melanie and David who have conflicting stories, for crying out loud, for places they were supposedly together at the same time, and they don't match. So I know everybody thinks Melanie is some angel for coming forward. I don't think so. And I think the reason she gave all the interviews was to put the narrative out in front of her. I don't think even half of what she said is true. I don't believe any of it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're basing everything you think you know about this case on Melanie, I would suggest you go back and think, okay, well, how do we actually know that other than it came from Melanie?
Mm-hmm.
And I think she's going to have a shiny seat next to Lori if I'm right.
Yep, that was something that came to my mind. Was it last week?
Yeah.
I was talking to someone about the case, and they were playing devil's advocate, and we were bouncing strategies off each other about the case. And they said, "Well, this happened." I said, "Well, no, sir, because Melanie Gibbs said this, and that didn't happen because Melanie Gibbs." They're like, "Everything that you're bringing me comes solely from Melanie Gibbs." I'm like, "Oh." That's a problem. So much of what we think we know about this case comes only from her mouth. And that is a gigantic problem. So,
I mean, just the little story of, oh, I talked to Alex, and I asked him where the kids were, and he told me you don't want to know.
yep,
That comes from Melanie.
only
Like,
Melanie.
you have no idea how much stuff. It's fun. It's fun that you watch the interview, but you really have to take it with a grain of salt and think, okay, what motive does she have to say this? And
Right.
she came out right before, the probable cause affidavits came out. I think I don't think she's poor, stupid, gullible, brainwashed Melanie. I think she's a very smart, conniving. Well, I don't know if I go so far as accuse her of being smart, but I think she's very conniving and very manipulative, and she does it well.
Yeah, I think we got a lot of psychology about Melanie Gibb and her motivations in life from reading her book.
Absolutely.
And that book was psychologically terrifying to me. I had a very hard time reading it. I threw my Kindle across the room several times while trying to get through it because her best description of being a good mom in that book to me read like child abuse. And I was like, I cannot.
She absolutely admitted to child abuse multiple times in that. And it's not just child abuse, spiritual abuse, if you really want to push it. Yeah, she really confesses to a lot of things. But I think the thing that I got out of her book, other than her atrocious spelling, complete lack of grammar, and she should have had a publisher and an editor, was she doesn't want to be a good mother. She wants people to think she's a good mother. And that's very obvious. She doesn't want the work. She just wants people to think that it's easy for her to be a mom, and it wasn't. And I think it really shines a light on, in the preliminary trial, Pryor really hammered her about hating Tylee.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, it seemed really odd. Like, why would she hate Tylee? What was it? But after reading that book, I think she was completely jealous that Tylee had a maternal instinct that she couldn't figure out. Tylee just had it. You see videos with her and the way she interacts with JJ, and it seemed to be like second nature to her, and it just comes naturally to some people. Tylee had more maternal instinct in her pinky nail than Melanie Gibb had in a year and a half of parenting classes.
Yep.
Just say it. A 6-week parenting class at that.
That she took over and over for a year and a half. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy. 2 points coming up in chat that I want to address. First, Kresha is renaming her YouTube channel Difficult Research. That is perfect. Such a perfect name, because one thing that we overlook a lot in this case, because a lot of it kind of feels conspiracy theory like, but there is a group behind Chad and Lori. That was there before them and is still there now, and they're still doing the same stuff. This is a group that produced Chad and Lori, right? And they're still hard at work doing this stuff right now. And that's one thing that Kresha is really focused on digging into. I've learned a lot about it. I've shared everything I found out with her, with the preparing a people. That's where this started. This started with Michael and Nancy James and their preparing a people group to promote these sort of non-mainstream extremist LDS versions of belief, right? And the whole prepper community and all of that. The people out of Vallow, Christopher Parrott, Hector Sosa, all of these names. I could list 20 names of people involved in this group, and they're still doing their stuff today. They're not being held accountable. No one told them to quit it, and they're still doing it. And these are the people, these are the groups where Chad met Melanie and Lori and Jason Mao and all of these people. So that's an aspect of this case that we do have to look at, because they're still doing it. How long before they produce the next Chad and Lori?
Oh, the next Chad and Lori are probably already there.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have to look at it, and a lot of people might not agree with me, but I mean, I've studied cults for a long time, but Chad is about as charismatic as a daggone potato. He is not the top of the food chain. There's no way. You'll never convince me that he came up with all this crap by himself and put this together, because I just don't buy it. I do not buy it.
Right.
He does not. You can't look at Chad Daybell and think, oh yeah, there was the next Jim Jones right there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't buy Kool-Aid from Chad if he was paying me to take it. I'm not even kidding.
Mm-hmm.
He just doesn't have that personality.
Yep.
He didn't have this big harem of women around him. I know a lot of people like to talk about that. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. And they know they're wrong. They know they're wrong. Remember,
Yeah.
I got into it with Michael and Nancy James. Well, actually, just Nancy, using Michael's accounts to post on my stuff.
I remember that day.
They got into it because when I realized that their company, Color My Media, right, they had started new projects, and now they've renamed their company, as Kresha points out, to Latter Day Media, right? They were, instead of doing Preparing a People, because after Chad got arrested, they scrubbed Preparing a People from the internet. They took everything down that they could find. They didn't do a great job because we found a lot of stuff, but they tried to take all of it off the internet. And then they just reformed. All right, so now they have Book of Mormon Evidence. They have Come Follow Me 2020, which was a direct ripoff of the actual Come Follow Me program sanctioned through the church, right? Their Come Follow Me 2020 is not sanctioned by the church, but they stole the name. And I thought that was really skeevy of them. But they're doing Book of Mormon Evidence, Come Follow Me. What's the other one? The big one that they have, the other big one? I can't remember off the top of my head. But there's 4 or 5 groups that they use the names of where they're promoting all of this same material, right? Non-LDS doctrine, but calling it LDS stuff. And they're doing it. They're still doing the big talks. Jason Mao's been at a bunch of them, Rod Meldrum, all of these people. They're still doing it,
You know what? If they really cared, I mean, even if they believed this crap until this happened and it, caused them to shake their head and say, oh, well, what did I get myself involved in? They would have distanced themselves from these people, and they would have gone to the police and said, anything that you want from our servers, any recordings we have, whatever we can do to help, they're yours.
Yeah.
And they didn't. They just republished it. They're still publishing crap from Melanie Gibb on that stupid forum. Her stupid non-apology letter. What a joke.
Yep.
What a joke.
Okay, I want to address one thing in chat. Although we are talking about these offshoot divisions of people that call themselves LDS, we are not here to bash the LDS church itself. All right, so please don't do that in chat. There are very good people who are Mormon, and that's great for them. That's not who we're talking about. Okay, we're talking about the people that are doing this cult-like behavior under the guise of pretending that they are LDS when they're really not. Okay, so it's a very important distinction to remember that. So
just take like the way Ian described it. Ian was part of the church before he married Melanie, and then he was like, I swear it sounded like somebody wrote down an RPG tabletop game like Dungeons and Dragons, but with the Bible or something. It just didn't make any sense. This is nowhere near normal type of religion at all. I mean, this is so off left field. I don't know how they're even under the heading. To be honest, I don't know why Melanie Gibb hasn't been excommunicated yet either, along with some others.
Yeah, and I think, remember that I'm sure that the Mormon Church is very much aware of this situation. They can't not be.
Oh, yeah.
And they came out with their letter cautioning people to reach out to their legal department before testifying or get involved in court cases like this, right after Melanie Gibb was on the stand. And Melanie Gibb said that the Book of Mormon evidence and the Firm Foundation events that she attended were sanctioned by the Mormon Church, which is so not true, not even remotely true. And I'm sure the church leaders were like, no, don't say that. And that's why that letter came out the next day. So yeah, that was a thing. My goodness. So yeah, we have to be careful how we talk about that, because I do not want to offend, non-murderous, good LDS people.
Oh, here we go, Amy.
Complaining. Are we starting?
Yep.
All right, here we go. Full screen, and we'll be quiet.
Mr. Fuller, are you there? Very well, thank you. This is Fremont County KCR 222755, State of Idaho versus Chad Guy Daybell. Mr. Daybell is represented by his attorney, John Pryor. And if you give me just a second, I'm going to mute because I got a siren going by here. All right. This is the time we have scheduled for a hearing on the defendant's motions, motion to oppose use of and motion to preserve DNA samples, motion for photographic recording of serology samples and other visual tests, and motion to review lab records. Before we started this hearing, I discussed the matter off the record with counsel, Mr. Pryor and Mr. Wood. The state did file a response to the motion indicating that it didn't entirely object to some of the issues in the motion. Counsel has agreed to try to see if this issue can be resolved through stipulation, and there are some additional issues that we're going to need to find out from the state lab in order to potentially reach a stipulation. And so in order to allow time for that, it's my understanding the parties have agreed that we should continue today's hearing with the proviso that the state would agree to refrain at this time from any consumptive testing of any evidence in its custody at this time. In other words, any testing that would completely consume the evidence, leaving it unavailable for examination by the defense. And then we could bring the case up again or potentially not have to hear the motion on the basis of a stipulation. So that's what I understand we intend to do today. Mr. Pryor, does that recitation I just gave comport with your understanding of where we are today?
It does, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Wood and Ms. Smith. On behalf of the state, are we okay to continue this matter?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Very well. And again, Mr. Wood, as I mentioned, obviously part of that agreement is that the state would refrain from any consumptive testing until this issue is sorted out. Counsel, if you need to have a hearing on this, just contact the court and we can do that potentially even on an expedited basis if necessary. I think that's all we've got for today. Then is there any other issue we need to bring up, Mr. Wood or Ms. Smith from the state?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Pryor, Mr. Means, anything further today?
No, Your Honor. No, Your Honor. Thank you. May I be excused?
You may. Thanks, counsel. We'll go ahead and log. Thanks everyone for setting up the hearing today.
Well, called it. Oh goodness. All right. So yeah, I did say that if both sides are stipulating, what did I say earlier? They'll just be like, "Hi, judge. Okay, we agree. Bye." So that is what happened. Oh man. Yeah, I called it.
People come and go so quickly around here.
They do. Cowgirl Up, if you have an issue with Patreon, there's nothing I can do about that. I don't know how to, you have to contact Patreon's help center. You can do that through their website. I don't have any control over what Patreon charges anyone. So There's literally nothing I can do about that. I'm sorry. So yeah, Mr. Fuller was the court reporter, so nothing new there. We did get to see Rachel Smith looking kind of fierce. I was glad to see that. But yeah, that's what I figured was going to happen, especially after reading Rob Wood's motion saying he basically agreed. So there was nothing for the court to hear as far as arguments. Carolyn wants a recap. Basically, the defense had a motion to stop Rob Wood from doing consumptive testing on DNA samples, meaning testing DNA samples that would consume the entire sample, so there would be none left for additional testing by the defense until they could agree to do it together. Rob Wood filed his motion saying, yep, I agree. I'll even facilitate it. Let's just get the experts all in line. And the judge just said, well, okay, you guys agreed. So great. Bye. So that was good. Yeah, that's what I thought would happen.
John Pryor just agreed with, I can't think of his name now. I keep wanting to say Rachel, not Rachel, the other one.
Rob Wood?
They agreed. Yeah, there you go, Rob Wood.
Yeah, I keep saying Rachel Wood lately. Like the two are now married in my mind. Rachel Wood, that just covers the prosecution. I'm sure she doesn't like that too much, so let's try to remember. But yeah, I've been saying Rachel Wood. So also, Lori Hellis is in chat. Hopefully one of the mods can drop a link to her newsletter. Please sign up for that if you want more deep legal information. She's covering it, and it is the best source you can get for understanding what all of these motions are about. I do my best, but I am not a lawyer. Lori Hellis is, or she's retired now. So yeah, that's where you go for your legal information. But yeah, John, he did crash out. John was like, can I be excused? Like sitting at the dinner table and doesn't want to eat his cauliflower, Yeah. But goodness, what's so important you got to run away for? Oh, well. But yeah, so that was that. That's it. There's one thing that came up in chat that I want to talk about. Jess, you and I have been sitting on this for a month now. But given the state of things and how much came out publicly, we can talk about it, I think. This is a theory. So I want to put a giant red flashing thing on the screen. This is a theory. This is supposition. This is extrapolation. This is not fact, right? Where is Lori? Shall we talk about that?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
All right. Lori Vallow. There was a hearing scheduled on March 10th, right? Way back in March. But for some reason, it was moved up quickly to March 8th. And a lot of that hearing happened behind closed doors in a breakout room. We didn't get to see what happened. Right? We're like, that's weird. Right? And then shortly after that, there was some ex parte motions, orders for protection. Ex parte orders for protection filed. Or at least one that was, copied to both cases. We're like, what? What on earth is that about? We can't even verify with the court who filed that, although I would bet money that was filed by Rob Wood. So whatever. Ex parte order for protection. Like, that's really weird, right? When you look at what that order for protection is supposed to be. All right, what is that about? And then the next couple hearings we see, suddenly they can't hear anything about Lori's case. The judge will not take up any motions right now for Lori's case, but they can for Chad's. I'm like, okay, that's really weird, right? We can't even have the pro hac vice for Lori's case to get Rachel Smith added because why? And I'm like, all right, something is fishy in Fishtown.
Yep.
So I was pondering this and pondering this and pondering this. And I talked to Lori Hellis about it. I've talked to Jess about it. We've all been talking about this a lot. And here's what I think. Okay, and please understand this is just what I think. This is not a fact. At first, I wondered if maybe Lori was in the hospital. Right? That would make sense. Why they had to move that hearing up, the order for protection, Lori she can't even waive her right to appear so far. And we know from one of Mark Means' filings, he mentioned that Lori's case was suspended for a time being. So that's kind of a strange thing. So it made me think, all right, she's incapacitated in some way. She cannot take part in her own defense, which means that there has to be a stay. Right? So what could be? Could she be ill? I don't think so. I believe she's still in the detention center. Why? Could be a psychiatric issue. Maybe she's under psych eval. Maybe she had a break, and she's under psychiatric care. We don't know. We don't know where she is or exactly what's happening. But when you look at all of these motions and Lori not being able to waive her right to appear, that means something's going on. That's why that there's that suspension that Mark Means talked about, and that's why they can't hear the Pro Hac Vice for her case. To me, that makes absolutely 100% perfect sense. It
Yep.
really does. But I could totally be wrong. So, Jess, what do you think about it?
I think knowing what we think we know, because neither one of us are actually psychologists, but we've dealt with enough narcissists that the two of us recognize that Lori is the narcissist in this relationship. I would have, my opinion, maybe they offered Chad a deal, and Lori faked a mental break, try to jerk him back in, feel sorry for her, take the heat off of it, whatever. That's my opinion.
That's
But
quite
yeah, I think I don't know, I don't know if it's like an ordered thing or a voluntary thing, but if she's having a mental break, I would 99% speculate that it's a fake one. Like it's an attention, it's a ploy.
Yep. Henrietta Erasmus, thank you so much for the super chat. I really, really appreciate that. She put behind the scenes up there because, yep, that's kind of what we're talking about. I can verify that she is actually in the detention center. Okay, she's not in a hospital or psychiatric facility. So I'm sure they have some way to handle her where she's at. But that seems to be the case, that she's actually still in the detention facility. She has not been moved. So what's going on? We don't know. Is she sick? I don't think so. But she could be under some sort of psych eval, which they should have done. If the defense hasn't done that yet, they really should, because they need her psychiatric history just for mitigation later on. So that could be what's happening. Or maybe she did.
It's probably chances are it's not a competency hearing at this point. It's some kind of testing.
Yep. And even if it were a competency hearing, she could still waive her right to appear at these hearings.
Right. Exactly.
So I'm not sure what's going on. I'm not sure. I don't want to spark the rumor that, oh, she's sick or da 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 da. But there's definitely something strange happening. There's a reason that, or maybe it's a plea negotiation, and so that's why they suspended her case while they work that out. I don't know. But she has not been appearing. She has not been waiving her right to appear. Why? Who the heck knows? But it's a very, very curious situation, and one that I would like to know.
And it kicked off whenever about the same time as she wants to be called Miss Daybell.
Yep.
So that's why I thought it's somebody's trying to separate those two. If Pryor was worth his salt, he should be telling Chad to divorce her and roll and take whatever kind of plea he can get. Mm-hmm. Because she is going to roll that bus right on over him. She's not going to take a deal.
Right.
If I'm right about her, she won't take a deal.
Krisha said she tried to evade the one my uncle had ordered for her and supposedly went. Yeah, Charles did have an emergency psych eval hold issued for Lori, and she squirmed her way out of that one. So, allegedly. I mean, Melanie Gibb says that she went to it, but we have no actual verification of that. Even to this date, we don't know for sure that she went to that. So,
no. I would kind of, well, you said you verified she's still in the detention center. I think if she was in a hospital over there or a mental anything, it's such a small town. Somebody would have leaked it by now. You know?
Yeah, there's no way they could have kept that quiet if she was in the hospital
or whatever. Hell, I think Kobe would have said something, to be honest.
Yep.
But,
Yep. And Crash says they can't divorce. It's against their beliefs. Yeah, technically, they shouldn't be divorcing if they're so LDS. Remember, Lori and Chad will tell you that they're the best LDS people that ever were, totally. But they're not. Their stuff that they're spewing is not LDS doctrine. So
she's done it before. I mean, not all of her ex-husbands are dead. So.
Yeah. Pure Grace says she didn't think that Rachel Smith looked fierce because she didn't really answer. Right now, she is still second chair. She is not the lead prosecutor on this case right now. This is still Rob Wood. So that's normal for her to not, jump in the middle of it like that. So that's fine. She will have her day. Believe me, this is not a woman who sits back and plays second fiddle. Look at her record. So,
I'm waiting for the day in the trial where she gets to question Lori Vallow, because I completely expect Lori to be such a narcissist that she can't help herself. She will absolutely put herself on the stand.
yeah.
And I think she'll tell her apart.
Mm-hmm. All right. Lace Girl says, I did some reading, and while there is no insanity defense, they can be declared unfit to stand trial, and they need to try to get the person to fit to stand trial. Correct. That is correct. They cannot plead an insanity defense, but she can be ruled incompetent. Although I don't really see that happening in this case because she's clearly, she's not incompetent, but they can try. Yeah.
They would have already called for that if they were going to go for that defense. They would
Right.
have already said, let's check her out.
Yeah. Some people are saying that divorce is okay in LDS. Okay, I've heard otherwise, but I'm not LDS, so I don't know. I was under the impression that divorce is frowned upon within the LDS faith, but I have no idea.
Yeah, so is killing your kids. So, I mean, let's not split hairs here.
Yeah, that is true.
When she gets to the pearly gates, they might check about her kids rather than how many marriages she's had at this point.
Yep. All right, so let's wrap up today's hearing. As of right now, the prosecution and the defense have agreed, they have stipulated to test the small DNA samples that would be consumptive testing. They've agreed to do that together with both witnesses. Rob Wood is going to facilitate that. They have to get with each other and pick their witnesses and get it all ironed out. That'll take them some time to get that done. But they have stipulated to do it together, which is the right thing to do. And that's why it was just a 1 minute hearing. They obviously did some things, in a breakout room where they had some housekeeping type issues to deal with. But as far as we know right now, they've stipulated and they will test together and everything will be great. Everything will be great. We hope. No more fighting,
We don't have anything on the schedule until June 9th, right? At this point?
Yep,
Okay.
there will be. We do know for sure that there are more motions coming from John Pryor. We expect to see a motion for severance, motion to dismiss. They're going to revisit the change of venue motions. So all of that will be happening over the next month until we get to June 9th. We should hear more about this at some point, certainly when the parties agree to their expert witnesses and the testing. That might be filed through the court, so we might see when that happens. But otherwise, we know it's happening now, and that's good because that's one less issue. What I was talking about it last time, the biggest issue for me was if Rob Wood did do consumptive testing and not in accordance with the law, as far as the defense's access to that, all of the DNA evidence could have gotten thrown out of the case. And that would have been an absolute nightmare. We do not want to see something like that happen. So I'm very glad this is done and agreed to. And we don't have to worry about that now. So phew, that's a relief.
Yeah.
Carolyn Dillman asked, do we have trial dates? We do not. The trial was presumptively set for July of this year. That is not going to happen now. They have moved it to sometime this fall. They do not have a date set yet. So a date to be determined, but it will not even be really brought up again until later this year. So we might see it this fall for the current charges. Something tells me that's probably not going to happen. So don't hold your breath.
No. I agree. Plus, that they still need to add Rachel to Lori's case, so that'll have to go through the court too. A hearing. Yeah.
Okay, in Idaho and Motorboating says she lives in the LDS community and raised in the church, and her parents were divorced. And I tell you, it is very stigmatized still, especially active temple-going LDS members. Okay. All right, so we've got opposing opinions about divorce in the LDS church, but from what I've known, it was highly frowned upon. So
yeah, dead kids trumps that argument.
Yep. And Kresha has a comment. She says, against Chad and Lori, their beliefs, guys, we have to get comfortable talking about uncomfortable things, or we will never make progress. That is so true. We are going to have to talk about the LDS doctrine and how it compares and how it differs from Chad and Lori, but we have to remember that's where they got their start from. So we will have to talk about it at some point, but I will do my level best to make it the most respectful conversation about LDS doctrine that we can have on the internet, which is saying something. Having respectful conversations is not a big internet thing, but we're going to try. We're going to do our best.
But it's a conversation that needs to be had. You can't just stand on polar. And this goes for anything, guys. the world right now is not having a whole lot of difficult conversations, and there's always people in the middle of the two polar opposites, and you're not going to get anywhere unless you talk about it. So
Yep. Yep, definitely. So we'll get there when we get there. Thankfully, we don't have to do that right now because I'm not ready for that. Chat's going to be challenging when that happens. But so that's all that we know about the case right now. I want to thank everyone for the positive comments that I got in regards to the post I had about defense attorneys. I am trying to reach out to Kirk Nurmi. And Kirk, if you're watching, I really would love to sit down and talk to you on a video about defense attorneys. I know it's an unpopular opinion, and a lot of people just want to hate the defense attorneys because of their clients that they represent. And I get that. I feel the same way a lot of the times, but we have to have defense attorneys. That's how our system of justice works. Okay, and I know that's not a popular opinion and nobody wants to talk about that, but it's a big deal to me. So I'm going to hope to try and get an interview with Kirk Nurmi to bring him on. He is the one who changed my mind about defense attorneys long ago. So if I can get him to come on and explain his position and how it works to be a defense attorney when you know you're defending someone who's done something very bad, but still be able to sleep at night. You know, that's something that I would love for him to come to share and talk to you all about. Not that I'm trying to say John Pryor and Mark Means are the most wonderful people in the world. I'm not saying that, but their job as defense attorneys is important. So I want to talk about that. And certainly Lori Hellis, retired criminal defense attorney, newsletter author extraordinaire, and soon to be published author. Very excited about that. Her link is in chat, should be in the description. If not, I will add it. So we have a lot of criminal defense attorneys around us. So let's talk to them. Let's get that uncomfortable conversation going so we can understand the job they do and why it's so darn important to all of us. So
I think the first defense attorney that I ever really liked was the Skylar Richardson's group of attorneys. They were good.
They were excellent.
They were good.
They were so good. Yep, that father-son team. So yeah, we can talk about the defense attorneys we've liked, why we've liked them, ones we didn't like, and why we didn't like them, but they're still
Some
really,
prosecutors we didn't like.
Yep, there are definitely some of those.
I absolutely hated the prosecutors in the Skylar Richardson case. I thought they were absolutely despicable.
Yep. But the prosecutors and Tim Wayne Jones Jr. loved them.
Yep,
that was probably one of the best prosecution teams I've ever seen in action. They were fantastic. So yeah, we're going to have that discussion. But for now, you can follow me on Twitter and Facebook and all those places. Please join our Discord. We're talking about this case around the clock in Discord. And Discord is totally free. And certainly if you want to get in on our research project and, jump right in and lend a hand there, Discord is the place to be for that. So we'll hope to get to see you there. And to Kay and Kresha, I love you guys. Kay, I've been telling Kresha for months now that I wish you were my mom. I love you to pieces. If you ever need anything, you've got me 100%, whatever you need. So just reach out. I am here for you. All right. We got anything else we need to go over today, Jess? I think we hit everything.
Just go to my channel and watch my videos. Mine are more about child abuse type cases because that's kind of my thing. But,
Yep, and I'm sure the mods have linked to Jess's channel in chat. You can find her at Jess Nelson Mistrial right here on YouTube. And if you guys need us, come get us. We're everywhere, so you can find us. All right. What else? There was one other thing I wanted to say. I don't remember what it is, so I guess it wasn't important.
Tomorrow's chat probably.
Oh yeah, tomorrow. Every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Central, Jess and I do a live stream for Patreon and YouTube channel members called Breaking Free. It's part of the Toxic Bliss series, where we talk about narcissism and toxic relationships, how to identify them, and how to get out safely, because that's a trick and a half. So, yay! Can be Kresha's sister. Woohoo! Awesome. Now I'm happy.
Yay. Let's
go have a drink, Kresha. We gotta celebrate this with some drink.
I bet your Pryor's already beat us to it.
No doubt. All right, so we're out of here for today. I'm sorry for the speculation, but there are a lot. Everyone keeps asking me about is Lori sick and in the hospital, so I wanted to give you what I thought about that. But again, total speculation. Please don't run around the internet saying Awen said Lori's and no. No, I said I think. Okay, Awen thinks. So We'll go with that. Yes, and Kay's gumbo. Gotta have that too. All right, we love you all. Thank you for being here. For channel members and patrons, we'll see you tomorrow night for Toxic Bliss. And Jess, thank you for being here, and thanks to all the mods who have helped run this conversation today. Can't do this without you guys.
Absolutely. I had a good time.
All right, I'm out of here. I'm going back to Resident Evil. Like I said the other day, I was unplugging from the internet because I needed to go take a break, and I'm playing Resident Evil because I don't get enough zombie killing cultists in real life. I got to go play a game about zombie killing cultists too, because there you go. This is my life now. All right, so
Immersion therapy now? I don't know.
exactly. All right, bye
All right.
everyone. We'll talk to you
Bye,
soon.
guys.